Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Now the CBI questions the ex-National Stock Exchange chief Chitra Ramkrishna for hours in her Mumbai flat. The CBI, ED and SEBI are all now investigating the identity of the mysterious guru whom she was taking commands from as head of the NSE. His identity is still not known. Emails released in a SEBI order this week show that they even planned a Seychelles holiday together, even though she said she didn't know his identity. The high-stake campaign for the state of Punjab ends. Sunday is voting. The Prime Minister meets prominent Sikhs in Delhi. Meanwhile, the Delhi Chief Minister says, "My name is Kejriwal and I am not a terrorist. I am a terrorist who has schools and education and health," is what he says. But the Gandhis keep focus on the charges against Kejriwal by an ex-AAP leader. For the Badals and Akalis, it's a battle of survival. We haven't banned hijab in Karnataka. It's up to colleges, says the state education minister. Is the Karnataka government backtracking from its original order? Meanwhile, a teacher resigns over the no hijab rule. She releases a letter. The principal of her college says it's false. Chaos continues in the state assembly, both over this saffron flag claim by a minister and now over the hijab row. Accused of anti-minority hate speeches, he gets bail in less than a month. Is hate speech bailable? Sedition charges are not applied against him in this case. This shows the double standards, as journalists and students are often jailed for months for sedition, but hate speech makers walk free. Mamata Banerjee's nephew is back as second in command in the Trinamool party after rift reports. Mamata Banerjee reinstates Abhishek Banerjee as National General Secretary. He is now the number 2 in the party, though his loyalists have been sidelined. Our lead story tonight. Earlier this evening, the CBI has just finished their questioning today of the ex-National Stock Exchange chief, Chitra Ramkrishna, in Mumbai. Now, remember, Chitra Ramkrishna, who was NSE chief in 2013 to 2016, has been accused of taking commands on confidential information of the NSE from a yogi, from a guru based in the Himalayas, all on email. So it has the details of what happened today, the CBI questioning. So it, firstly, why has the CBI got involved now? In 2022 for something which happened between 2013 to 16?
Well, Sonia, the reason being that the SEBI probe ended recently in February, and we know that the SEBI issued a final order imposing 3 crore penalty on Chitra and 2 crore on Anand. And if you see, I'll first show you the visuals where we are. This is Sita Sadan, and this is the residence of Chitra Ramkrishna, the former CEO and MD of National Stock Exchange. While the CBI did the probe on Friday, what I can tell you that the Income Tax Department's investigation wing has been searching her house in Mumbai on Thursday, and the investigation is still going on as of now by the Income Tax Department on Friday as well. This is what we know as of now, and the central probe, what we know is has also issued lookout circulars against her, along with former Chief Executive Officer Ravi Narayan and Chief Operating Officer Anand Subramaniam, and they are being prevented them from leaving the country. So this is what has happened as of now. The CBI questioned for almost 12 hours after they left, but the IT department's investigation wing is still over here. So the two controversies, number one, is of allegedly providing internal information to NSE to an outsider, her spiritual guru, with whom she was said to be traveling to Seychelles as well. And another is creating a post of Chief Strategic Officer and giving it to hiring Subramanian and giving him the annual package of first 1.38 crores, which subsequently was increased to 4 crores. So this is the entire issue. While the SEBI has been investigating this now, be it the CBI or the income tax officials, they are also investigating the entire thing. Today, my colleague Sunil Singh also tried to reach over here.
Thanks so much, Sohit, for those updates. So really now, this whole Pandora's box been opened, because firstly, who was backing Chitra Ramkrishna? How was she CEO, the head of the NSE at that crucial time being associated with the NSE, and how did she have such sweeping powers to do whatever she felt like regarding appointments? Here's the latest.
CBI interrogated Chitra Ramkrishna, former CEO of India's largest stock exchange. She had shared confidential data with a godman in Himalayas. Here's latest what happened in the case today.
This is Chitra Ramkrishna's flat in Mumbai. Today she was summoned and questioned by the CBI on charges of market manipulation. A week ago, an investigation by SEBI, the market regulator, exposed the bizarre case. The agency has alerted airports to prevent the key accused from fleeing. These are Ramakrishna, her predecessor Ravi Narayan, and Anand Subramaniam, whom she appointed to a top position with a high pay and many perks. Anand Subramaniam got the job simply on the basis of mails from the mysterious godman to Ramakrishna. There are three agencies now investigating the NSE scandal: the CBI, the Enforcement Directorate and SEBI. Despite this, none of them has been able to identify the mysterious godman who effectively held sway over the NSE, which then had a market cap of hundreds of billions of dollars. Ramakrishna stepped down in 2016, ostensibly for personal reasons.
Despite the enormity of the case, none of these three individuals have been arrested. However, CBI sources confirmed to NDTV that Chief Operating Officer Anand and also Ravi Narayanan, predecessor of Chitra Ramkrishna, have been informally questioned by CBI. Soon they would be formally questioned too. The agency, however, yet to have answered some tough questions. The biggest one being that how did these three people continue and got away for so long? In New Delhi, with camera person Ashok Mahale, this is Neeta Sharma reporting for NDTV.
Fascinating story there, new developments every day. But moving to the other big story, and that really is the battle for Punjab, the high-stakes battle where campaigning has ended today. Voting is on Sunday. Each political party has a different battle to fight here, so the stakes high. And right now the focus all over an ex-AAP leader's charge. In fact, the BJP and Congress are both together in attacking Arvind Kejriwal on this. Arvind Kejriwal spoke today saying that if he's a terrorist who builds schools and creates hospitals.
The campaign has ended in Punjab, and it's not just the next state government which is at stake, but a report card on top politicians. In Delhi, the Prime Minister met a group of Sikh clerics. His party, the BJP, is fighting separate from the Akali Dal for the first time since the 1990s. It's been a battle of survival for the Akali Dal. The 101-year-old party suffered its worst electoral drubbing in 2017. Quit the central government in 2020 and is fighting separately from the BJP for the first time in over 2 decades. And it's trying to shed accusations of sacrilege and drugs.
It is the easiest battle this time. Clean sweep for Akali Dal BSP. Congress and AAP have lost the game in Punjab. They won't get more than 10 seats.
But the big buzz is around the Aam Aadmi Party. A win in Punjab will give the party a full-fledged state under its rule and boost its national stature. Arvind Kejriwal held a road show in Sukhbir Badal's stronghold. In the last stages of the campaign, both the Prime Minister and the Congress's Rahul Gandhi have accused him of hobnobbing with terrorists.
शायद मैं दुनिया का सबसे स्वीट आतंकवादी होऊंगा जो लोगों के लिए अस्पताल बनवाता है, लोगों के लिए स्कूल बनवाता है, बुजुर्गों को तीर्थ यात्रा पे भेजता है।
केजरीवाल जी को बाहर आकर हाँ या ना का जवाब देना चाहिए। उल्टी सीधी बात नहीं करनी चाहिए। उन्हें पंजाब को सीधा बताना चाहिए कि कुमार विश्वास सच बोल रहा है या झूठ।
But the party is fighting a dual battle, anti-incumbency and an internal rebellion in the last 6 months after sacking Amrinder Singh as Chief Minister and choosing Charanjit Singh Channi over Navjot Singh Sidhu as the CM face has not resolved the crisis.
Captain Amrinder Singh and Badals are two sides of the same coin. बादलों की तरफ और कैप्टन की तरफ जाना मतलब बैक गियर लगाना, और अगर बदलाव की तरफ जाना है तो ये शख्स सामने खड़ा है प्लान के साथ, नीतिबद्ध योजनाबद्ध तरीके से.
The outcome will be a reflection on the Gandhi siblings who have been handling the Punjab unit's crisis. Despite their handling, Congress rebels are contesting more than a dozen seats and 3 prominent leaders have now been expelled. just days before the poll.
Campaign for Punjab polls 2022 comes to an end today, and now more than 2 crore Punjabis will decide the party which really raised their issues and concerns and promised to resolve it after coming to power. In Firozpur, Mohammad Ghazali for NDTV.
Well, moving to Karnataka, where the Karnataka government seems to be backpedaling from its stand against the hijab in classrooms, saying today that it's up to colleges to permit whether the hijab can be worn in classrooms or not. The Karnataka Advocate General today said in court that this government order is innocuous in nature. It does not affect any of the petitioners' rights. The Chief Justice said that you say the government order is innocuous, which says no religious symbols in classrooms, but you also say banning hijab will not violate Article 25. What was the necessity of saying all that? The Advocate General then argued if a college development committee permits the wearing of hijab, if there is no objection, the state can decide. As of now, in the order, we have given autonomy to the College Development Committee. The Chief Justice then said, what was the necessity of mentioning judgments and recording your conclusion and then passing the government order? The AG said, on a better advice, these could have been avoided, but that stage has passed. And here's what the Education Minister now says.
We have not banned hijab. Again, the wrong news has been spread. We have not banned hijab. We have asked the student to follow uniform. Since hijab is not a part of the uniform, they cannot wear the hijab. That is the order of the court. It is not the order of the government. Whatever the government has clearly said, whatever the uniform prescribed by the school management or SDMC committee has to be followed.
Well, let's just go to the other story coming in, and that, of course, is of a man accused of hate speech. The worst kind of hate speech against minorities has now walked out on bail in less than a month. This is also because charges of hate speech are bailable, unlike charges of sedition, which are routinely used against journalists and students.
As he walks out of Haridwar jail after getting bail in the 2 cases filed against him in January, barely a month from his arrest. His lawyers say the court, while granting bail, had not found the case to be serious. Yati at the gathering had made speeches threatening Muslims, asking Hindus to take up arms, intensify war against Muslims, and saying that economic boycott of Muslims was not enough.
माननीय सत्र न्यायालय द्वारा मामले को बहुत गंभीर न पाते हुए और जमानत का उचित आधार पाते हुए इनको जमानत दे दी गई है। बाकी अभी इसकी कार्रवाई इन्वेस्टिगेशन की शीर्ष है।
In the bail order, District Court barred Narsinghanand from giving any inflammatory speeches, participate in any such events in future, intimidating witnesses. Despite this, Yati sat on a protest in Haridwar demanding the release of Narayan Tyagi, his associate arrested in the hate speech case. He claimed he said nothing wrong and was in fact making the same assertions as the government.
हम केवल अपने भाई का इंतजार कर रहे हैं। जैसे ही त्यागी जी आ जाएंगे, जितेंद्र नारायण सिंह त्यागी जी छुट के आ जाएंगे जमानत पे, हम लोग यहाँ से उठकर उन्हें लेकर चले जाएंगे। यही सरकार है जो खुद कुछ भी कह रही है, हम कह रहे हैं तो हमें जेल में डाला जा रहा है।
Experts say the reason why Yati Narasimhanand was able to get bail is because he was charged under hate speech laws, which are relatively easily bailable, despite the Haridwar gathering making genocidal death threats to Muslims and even threatening the Indian state with armed insurrection. While journalists and activists seen as critical of the government have been charged under much more stringent anti-terror laws, keeping them in jail for years. Umar Khalid, former JNU student and activist, charged with provocative speeches in Elgar Parishad case, in jail for 17 months. Sharjeel Imam, PhD scholar from JNU, charged with provocative speeches ahead of Delhi riots, in jail for 24 months. Siddiqui Kappan, journalist charged with UAPA, in jail for 16 months. Shockingly, despite the matter being in the Supreme Court, barring 2, none of the other Haridwar hate mongers have yet been arrested. And one of them, Yati, has walked out on bail. With camera person Sajay Kaushik and Rahul Kumar in Haridwar, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Do we even need sedition charges in today's India, a colonial era law? Meanwhile, going across to breaking news coming in from Kashmir, where a police officer has been held for links to the terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba, and he in fact was part earlier of the top anti-terror investigation group in India, the NIA. Nazir, what details do you have?
Well, Sonia, top investigator of NIA, who was here for 4 years, Arvind Digvijay Negi, IPS officer, actually from the Himachal Pradesh police cadre. He was on deputation to NIA in Jammu and Kashmir. He was here for almost 4 years, investigating, probing some of the most important separatist, terrorist, and terror funding cases. He has been found hand in glove with militants. In fact, NIA says he has passed on, secret documents to Lashkar-e-Taiba. It's a overground worker which has eventually gone to Pakistan. In fact, several people were already arrested in this case. In November last year, his house was raided in Himachal Pradesh. It was also eventually sealed by the NIA. But today, the IPS officer, has been formally arrested by the NIA. This is second such case in last few years. In 2020, DSP Davinder Singh was arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police. He was posted at Srinagar airport, but involved in sheltering, transporting top Hizbul Mujahideen militants. He was taking them to somewhere in Delhi or Jammu to plan some case, attack. That was still a mystery.
It is actually, to find this rot within the country's top anti-terror agency, especially in Jammu and Kashmir, linked with the terror group, is really shocking. Nazir, thanks so much for that update. Well, let's go across to the other big political story this evening. Well, this is West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, and of course, President of Trinamool has backed her nephew Abhishek Banerjee amid infighting. Abhishek Banerjee has been reappointed the powerful National General Secretary of the Trinamool, basically now the party's second in command. So, Saurabh, what really is the larger political implications of this reshuffle by Mamata Banerjee? Last week she suspended all the posts, and today the new body and the new posts announced.
Well, there are two clear takeaways from this. One, of course, is the fact that Abhishek Banerjee retains the trust of his aunt and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, continues to be second in command, continues to be heir apparent, with him being reinstated as the powerful National General Secretary, which is really the number 2 in the party. The second is, of course, the 3 national vice presidents, and that includes Yashwant Sinha, Subrata Bokshi, and, of course, Chandrima Bhattacharya. Now, these are, of course, the old guard. The 2 of them are the old guard within the party, and one is, of course, Yashwant Sinha. And these people have been kept in this committee to, formulate the party's national ambitions and strategize there. And also, the other part is that Yashwant Sinha and Amit Mitra have been told to formulate the stand of the party on economic policy and foreign affairs policy as the party plans to expand nationally. But clearly, the casualty in all of this seems to be Prashant Kishore's political advisory IPAC, whose role hasn't really been assigned yet. And of course, he was considered to be close to Abhishek Banerjee.
Right, so Mamata Banerjee making it clear who's boss, but Abhishek Banerjee is still retaining her favor, even though those considered close to him, as you pointed out, whether it's Prashant Kishore or others, not accommodated in either a backroom role or in the party's top body. Thanks so much, Saurabh, for those details. Well, the latest on COVID, though our cases overall, of course, have risen. The good news is that the daily cases are down, and they're down to 25,920. It's down over 15%, the lowest since December. Deaths are also down. The vaccinations are pretty much static, but the good news is that we've crossed 80% of India's eligible population is now vaccinated with double doses. The tests are up, and the daily positivity rate is just over 2%. Well, let's look at the markets. The Sensex Nifty continued to be down for the third day. The Sensex down by 59 points, and the Nifty moving 28 points, lower to end at 17,276. So it's declining, but not by very much. Some of the prominent stocks, Divi's Labs, Cipla, Ultratech Cement, and Mahindra were amongst those lagging today. Coal India, SBI Life, Bajaj Auto, HDFC, and L&T were among the gainers. And the Indigo co-founder Rakesh Gangwal has resigned from the board. He will also cut down his stake in the airline over the next 5 years. Mr. Gangwal and his family own nearly 37% stake in the parent company. The co-founder and MD Rahul Bhatia owns about 37.8%. They had fought in early 2020 when he had sought to modify the rules. Gangwal has said that to Interglobe Aviation, only natural to someday think about diversifying one's holdings and stepping down immediately. He said when he wrote to the board, I don't want to hold access to price sensitive information. This, of course, is Indigo has just declared profits after some years of losses.